In modern-day Australia, at least 90 native species have become extinct since the European settlement. To prevent and limit further losses, national environment legislations were implemented, with the key one being the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, being passed in 1999. The EPBC Act currently lists 1,839 species and ecological communities that are heading towards extinction, but actions have been taken to prevent this direction. The EPBC Act provides a legal framework to protect and manage the populations of the threatened species, helping governments and conservation organizations form an outline of foreseeable actions to be taken in order to reverse population declines of threatened species. However, this legislation is not without its flaws. Due to limited resources, not all threatened species have a recovery plan. If they do, some plans lack clear details in conservation actions, which waste resources and don't permanently benefit the target species. Analysis by the Australian Conservation Foundation, BirdLife Australia, and Environmental Justice Australia found that of 120 of the most endangered animals covered by recovery plans, only 10% of them had plans that clearly placed limits on future habitat loss. Unambiguity in declaring a protected area just allows habitat loss to continue, such as in the case of the Carnaby's black cockatoo. Its National Recovery Plan advocates against the clearing of large areas of habitat, but had no proper delineation of areas that should be protected. As a result, the Australian government still approved projects that were destroying their habitat, and companies cleared 3,340 hectares of critical habitat, hampering the recovery of the species. As the EPBC Act mainly provides a framework, successful plans greatly depend on the physical and legislative efforts by the stakeholders. The lack of transparency and continuous dialogue between scientists and managements leave information gaps that affect the recovery planning and the decision making during implementation. Sensitivity analysis by Bayesian belief networks label legislation and resource allocation as the most important for recovery planning. However, there is much more effort in prioritizing research over other aspects of management, due to the ecological scientists only considering the ecological research aspect and not the other physical implementations needed. This problem also persists in the US and New Zealand, where species management plans for over 2,000 listed species from three countries had more than 50% of the recovery plans prioritizing research and monitoring over long periods of time, with no tangible actions done. Over-prioritizing research creates the illusion that something useful is being done, but ultimately wastes resources if there's no action plan following this research. So what can we do to improve the current recovery plans? Transparency and standardized conditions for recovery should be outlined to minimize misunderstanding between stakeholders. Then, alongside continuously updating ecological studies, constant enforcement should be carried out. Currently, the EPBC Act does not specifically define recovery, hence a universal definition of recovery and the recovered state of a population helps streamline recovery plans in different jurisdictions. A study done by Westwood and the others in 2014 delineates 5 stages of the recovery process in medicine, modified to fit the context of a threatened species population health metric. This model can be used in tandem with explicitly quantified targets for each recovery stage from ongoing studies, such as the evaluation done by Taylor and the others in 2011, stating that threatened species with a greater spatial overlap with strictly protected areas were more likely to be stable or increasing, providing a manageable solution to work towards. Finally, a paper by Alejandro Ortega Argueta introduces a Bayesian modeling method that can be adopted to anticipate transparency and impacts of key factors. This model can also be updated with stakeholder inputs and opinions over time to provide a framework stemming from multiple experiences and perspectives. Usage of this model alongside monitoring and transparent sharing of information maximizes the effects of recovery plans over a long period of time. The EPBC Act provides good groundwork for building future conservation plans upon, but this legislation by itself is too narrow to directly cause a change in threatened species populations. It is only with continuous updates and transparent management, efficient allocation of resources, and consistent focus on monitoring that Australia's recovery plans can make significant changes to protect its species from extinction.